Oh, hello. I'm Donald C.Martin. I've been invited by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia to speak to you today, and it's my great pleasure. I'm going to share with you some experiences, anecdotes, and observations that I've had over the last 26 years in the business. I hope you find it entertaining. Let's get started. Number 10, know who you're hunting with, okay? I got invited to go on a goose hunt one time with a gentleman I had never met before. Went out in the dark, got in the goose blind. He hands me an 870 Wingmaster, great shotgun, 2 3/4 inch action, boxing number 4s. First red flag. Sun comes up, no decoys, no goose call, no duck call, and it's a pasture. It's not a hay field, it's not a rice check. Second red flag. We go for a few hours, nothing really happens. I said, this is your goose hunting spot? He says, no, I mostly duck hunt. I said, really, this is your duck hunting spot? He said, no, I've actually never hunted here before. I said, you know what? I think we can go back to town. On the way back to town, he said, I know a pond we can jump, kill a few ducks. I said, let's salvage this hunt. That's a great idea. Let's go jump a pond, kill a few ducks. Awesome. The young man pulls into a corporate business park. Huge high-rise building. Huge parking lot. It's New Year's Day. No one is there. In the middle is a pond with a fountain and about 5,000 mallards. He said, we'll walk up the creek, we'll shoot over the dam. I usually kill 8 or 10 in one shot. I said, you know what? I think we can be done. I think you can take me back to town. You know, you only have one reputation. Don't go ruining it. Don't do something silly for social media photo. We play a game of integrity by association where we associate ourselves with good people so that we too are associated as a good person. It only takes one mistake. Don't make that mistake. It's important that we police our community, but it's important that we also police ourselves. So moving on, number 9. Can't you do something about this weather? Now this was a statement from a particular hunter of mine because we're in the business of being cold and wet and tired, and Lance Kronberger says the same thing. No, we don't have any control over the weather. We only have control over a handful of things. But I will suggest this, and this is for all you guides and outfitters out there, especially you younger guides. This is important. If you want to maintain a reputation as a miracle worker, it's important that you under-promise and over-deliver. Under-promise, over-deliver. Bring those expectations down, and then work hard to exceed those expectations. And you will develop a reputation as a miracle worker. Number 8, where's your tent? It's not your tent. It's not my tent. It's our tent. Yes, Big Spoon. I called it first. I'm totally Big Spoon. You know what? Backpack hunting, you're going to share a tent at some point. Okay? Get over it. Which is fine and dandy when you're sharing a tent with the likes of, say, an Adam Foss, which, of course, I have to make an Adam Foss joke in every talk that I give. It's a rule. Also, it's a quite different experience when you share a tent with a 6'6", 290-pound All-American linebacker out of South Carolina. You know who you are. Yeah, I was a little spoon that go around. New policy, 2 tents. Just take 2 tents. Number 7. Now this was not said this was not said to me. This was said to one of my fellow guides, okay? How old is a deer when it becomes an elk? 6. The correct answer is 6. A deer becomes an elk when it's 6 years old. No, that's not true. Honesty is the best policy. If it embarrasses you, if it embarrasses them, but you know what? If you're honest all the time, you don't have to think too hard about what you just said. Honesty is the best policy. Number 6, this is frightening. Hunting with dogs is unsportsmanlike. This came from a hunter. He didn't care about hunting dogs with, for birds. He was speaking to hunting dogs for big game. Now, I personally have been on 5, count them, 5 big game hunts with dogs. 2 pigs, 2 bears, 1 leopard in Namibia. My personal success rate, hunting with dogs for big game, 0% success. There's absolutely nothing unsportsmanlike about 0% success. Let me tell you something about hunting with dogs. A hunt with dogs turns into a hunt for dogs. Yeah, you're going to spend most of your time rounding up the dogs. Here's the life lesson. When you leave the rig, regardless of circumstance, and you start to chase the dogs, take way more water than you think you need, okay? Way more water. Maybe a puffy jacket, maybe your puffy pants, definitely take your rain gear, probably ought to take a snack. You don't even know when you're going to come back. It might not even be the same day. Hunting with dogs, not unsportsmanlike. Here we go. Number 5, how far do the whales migrate upstream? Now, this was posed to me by a woman once upon a time in southwest Alaska, and I don't think she really meant to use the word migrate, but thinking about anadromous fishes like salmon, she used the migration as an example and a template. How far do the whales migrate upstream? Now, on the surface, it absolutely seems somewhat absurd. That's not true. This is actually a real thing. I have personally observed beluga whales in the Kwidzak River. I have personally observed the beluga whales follow the salmon up the Naknek River. But I will tell you, the most spectacular whale experience in my life, I was guiding a brown bear hunt on the Nushagak River in Alaska, and I was able to circumvent, pull out in front, kill the engine, and have a huge pod of killer whales swim right all over the boat, just surrounded. And the bull orca came right up next to the vessel. And that's when I learned a very valuable life lesson. Don't pilot a small open skiff into a pod of whales that has the word killer in their name. But hey, nobody died, and it was awesome. It was a spectacular experience. Here we go. We're going to do number 4, which is, I brought the wrong custom ammo for the wrong custom rifle. I don't know what happened. I thought I grabbed a 6.5 by 284, but it was maybe a 284 by 300. I thought it might have been a 300 PC. Hey, none of that ever, it doesn't matter. You showed up with 2 boxes of 7mm STW. There is value in common calibers when you travel. I'm just saying. 300 Winchester mag. It's a real thing. Send your hate mail to Don Martin at ilove300winchester.com. That's not a real email. Don't email me. Okay, number 3. This is a really good one. Bring a backup rifle. Okay, this speaks to an anecdote. Once upon a time, I had a gentleman that came to me, and he wanted to do a grizzly bear hunt with a handgun. And I agreed on one condition only, bring a backup rifle. Do you understand? Yes, into the conversation. That's where the problem started. The gentleman showed up a year later with a handgun, .460 Smith & Wesson, and I saw for the first time the morning we actually intended to stalk what turned out to be a killer bear, the greatest bear charge experience of my entire life. I saw his backup rifle. It was a Ruger number 1. If you're not familiar with that particular model, that's a single shot. That's one shot. His backup rifle was one shot. Oh, no, 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 no. It gets better. It wasn't a .375 or a .338 or a .30 caliber Magnum. Oh, no. It was a custom Ruger #1. It was the exact same caliber as his pistol, .460 Smith & Wesson. His backup rifle was essentially a one-round pistol. As a guide outfitter, I'm going to tell you right now, complete, accurate, articulate information is always best. Communicate more, don't communicate less. Complete, accurate, articulate information is best. What do we got here? Most absurd thing you've ever seen while guiding. Back in the 90s, I guided a lot of caribou. A lot of caribou. Once upon a time, guiding caribou hunters, I look across the valley and on the opposite ridge, some unguided drop-off caribou hunters who were attempting to lure caribou within rifle range by bugling them in with an elk call. I'm not making this up. The first time I heard it, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. The second time I heard it, I was like, they're definitely trying to bugle them in with the elk call. The third time, I actually put the spotting scope on them. They're hiding in the alders. And I thought to myself, are they playing to the curiosity of the caribou? Let's be honest, a caribou is a very curious animal. I mean, they would have been better off simply hanging a white game bag in an alder. In fact, they could have just wrapped the game bag around their neck, put a rifle over each shoulder, and just walked straight to the caribou. But no, they tried to bugle them in with an elk call. And then I suddenly realized the nearest elk were 200 miles away on a Fognac Island, and perhaps their taxi service that had dropped them off, this was just a pilot who was 200 miles off. No. If you're going to go caribou hunting, you can leave the elk call at home. And finally, we get down to my favorite, life-changing experience for a great gentleman that I had the opportunity to guide. He won a raffle hunt at the Wild Sheep Foundation National Convention for mountain goat. And about 3/4 of the way through the hunt, he came to a sudden realization. He was afraid of heights. Now, this was a gentleman who was from the Midwest, fairly flat, fairly low elevation. He had no idea that he was acrophobic because he had never been anywhere high. But when confronted with a 1,000-foot drop, and I mean an honest-to-goodness 1,000-foot drop, not fall to your injury, fall to your death, he froze up. And he was really frustrated and angry with himself, and he dwelled on it. And I told him, I said, hey, this hunt's not over. We're going to get this thing done. Don't give up on me. Don't give up on yourself. And he didn't. He was able to overcome personal obstacles. In fact, to this day, that gentleman, with that life-changing experience that he had, he killed the biggest mountain goat I've ever guided. He also wrote the longest hunt report in Wild Sheep magazine history, and that's why there's a word limit now. But the most important life lesson to come out of that is that together we can overcome great obstacles. You know, recently here in the state of California, we had some misguided legislation that came about. Had a gentleman out of city of San Francisco that introduced a bill to the state Senate to ban black bear hunting. And through the power of social media, this community, this family, we were able to combine our voices and be heard. And in a phenomenal short amount of time, that legislation was withdrawn. And yeah, we're going to see it again. It's going to come back in some way, shape, or form. They're not going to quit. It's our duty to maintain vigilance over our politicians. But we came together through the power of social media, and we spoke out, and we pushed back, and we won. I know that all of my Canadian brothers and sisters up there, we face similar challenges, especially now in this age of COVID-19, and so many of you in the guide outfitter industry are struggling. I just want to tell you that each and every one of us here in the United States, and we're here to support you. We cannot wait to come back and hunt and fish in Canada. You've got 38 million outdoorsmen in America that you can reach out to. If you're facing legislative challenges at the provincial level, reach out to us. We can try to leverage the power of our US dollars, the influence that we have on your wildlife management, that we have on Canadian businesses, Canadian jobs for rural and indigenous peoples. We can encourage legislators to leave wildlife management to wildlife managers, to adhere to wildlife management that's rooted in science, and to adhere to the North American conservation model. It's the most successful in the world. We're family. Canada, America. You're our greatest ally. You're our best neighbor. You're your biggest trading partner. We share the longest border in the world. 5,525 miles of international border. In fact, Wrangell St. Elias and the Kluane National Park, with additional federal lands and native grounds, that is the biggest protected piece of ground on Earth. It is absolute critical habitat for keystone species, like the Dall sheep. Not just any Dall sheep, the biggest Dall sheep in the world. We stand ready to help you. We simply need direction, and our voices will be heard. And we can help to influence your provincial legislators to embrace the North American conservation model, to leave wildlife management to the professionals and not to politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great pleasure for me to talk to you today. I really sincerely appreciate the opportunity given to me by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Know that we stand to help you. Know that we stand to support you. Every single American who has ever hunted or fished in Canada, and every single American who aspires to hunt and fish in Canada, we stand ready to help. Now, I want to thank you for tolerating me and listening to me. I hope I have entertained you somewhere along the way. If you haven't done so already, please go to onlinehuntingauctions.com, register to bid for items coming up in the live auction later today. And I want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you very much.